As any Canadian knows, for months now in Canada, there's been an ongoing thing where there's allegations leaked by CSIS that there's Chinese Communist Party influencing, essentially employing certain members of our parliament. The Prime Minister absolutely refuses to name names. This has been going on for months and months now. And then we also harken back to a previous episode where we talked about one Liberal MP who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. But this week, someone named names. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll talk a little bit about what some of the potential consequences could be and what I think the real consequences or lack thereof will be. Hello, my name's Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. So, about a year ago, episode 147, I talked about Liberal MP Han Dong getting caught, essentially with his hand in the cookie jar, or getting caught being complicit with Communist Party of China authorities. He was recommending that the two Michaels not be released as a favor to them. He stepped down as a Liberal MP, but nothing else happened to him. Well, a year later, we've been embroiled in this fake outrage over foreign interference. I say it's fake outrage because absolutely nothing has happened. And of course, the Prime Minister refuses to release the names. He claimed a few weeks ago that members of the Conservative Party of Canada were on that list. I'm highly skeptical of that because I would think that if that was true, he'd have no hesitation in releasing those names because it would make his political opponents look bad, especially Pierre Poilievre, who he hates. And he's openly stated that he hates Pierre Poilievre, and he can't wait to do an election campaign against him because he wants to beat him in an election. But no names are ever being named. Well, an investigative journalist and a few others, including an independent MP, came out with a press conference earlier this week, and they did name names. So now we have four names. Mary Ng, a Liberal cabinet minister. Yuen Pao Wu, a senator appointed by Justin Trudeau in 2016. Victor O, a senator appointed by Stephen Harper in 2013, who stepped down some time ago when Peter O'Toole was the leader of the party, and as I understand it, that's because there were some stuff involving China that came out. And Parm Bains, the Liberal MP for Stevenston Richmond East. So an investigative journalist, Sam Cooper, was the one who gave this press conference. He was the one that you saw in that video that I'm playing while I was referencing the names. I believe it's something around 30 members of parliament who CSIS are looking into. But of course, they're absolutely taking their time. I mean, they have time to harass people that I know, as I've talked about, who committed the crime of going for a hike with people of a certain ethnicity, or ordering a certain book online. CSIS and the RCMP have all the time in the world for that, and they have all the time in the world to hunt down people who make memes or who make pictures for groups that they don't like, who support what they would say is white supremacy. Whether that's true or not, they have all the time in the world for that, but they don't seem to have any time to deal with this. I would think this would be priority number one when the people who are literally running the country, our government, are in the employ of the Communist Party of China. I mean, I've talked in episode 147 about how much admiration our government has for the Communist Party of China. I mean, regardless of whether it's a country that you admire or not, this should still be considered a problem. So let's look at some of the charges I'd be looking at if I was in charge, because I take this extremely seriously. I think this is the things that should be being looked at. We'll take a look at a couple sections, but then, as I said, we'll talk about what I think will happen or not happen, and you can probably guess what I'm going to say. But first, let's have a look at the criminal code. So I touched on this in 147, so I'm just going to go through this briefly. We've got high treason. I don't think that applies, just because treason involves, as you can see, killing or attempting to kill the Queen or the King, as the case may be. This is from an earlier version of the criminal code where it was still the Queen. Someone who levies war against Canada or does any act preparatory thereto, or assists an enemy at war with Canada. So that doesn't apply because no one's trying to kill the monarch, and we're not at war with China. Maybe we should be, but we're not. And that's high treason and simple treason. Again, there has to be force or violence being used under subsection A. Making available to an agent of a state other than the Canada military or scientific information. Now, at this stage, we don't have any evidence that military or scientific information is being provided by these MPs, but who knows? It depends on who it is, I suppose. Maybe if the Minister of National Defense is in there, maybe this would apply, but as of right now, we don't know that. Conspires with someone to commit high treason, forms an intention to do something that's under the high treason, or conspires to do anything mentioned in paragraph B. So as I said, I don't think that applies in these cases, but I would suggest that section 121, frauds on government. Everyone commits an offense who, directly or indirectly, sub 2, being an official, demands, accepts, or offers, or agrees to accept from any person for himself or another person a loan, reward, advantage, or benefit of any kind as consideration for cooperation, assistance, exercise of influence, or an act or omission in connection with the transaction of business with, or any matter of business relating to the government, or a claim against Her Majesty for any benefit that the monarch is authorized or entitled to bestow. So this seems absolutely on point from the information that we have so far. Or there's also section 122, breach of trust by a public officer. Every official who, in connection with the duties of their office, commits fraud or a breach of trust, whether or not the fraud or breach of trust would be an offense if it were committed in relation to a private person guilty of an indictable offense or summary conviction. So there's clearly some charges that look like they could be involved here, because the information we've had leaked so far is that there's people who are receiving some kind of consideration from the Communist Party of China to do things in our government. I would love to hear from a law enforcement individual of why they think the RCMP and CSIS are just sitting on their hands on this. I just don't know, but that brings me to my point of what do I think is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen, because nothing ever happens, as per the meme. And why does nothing ever happen? I mean, this has been going on for years. I've never been in politics. I don't know these people, so I haven't been involved in any of their backroom discussions. Maybe it's just greed and complacency, and they don't want the gravy train to stop, so they're just indifferent to Canada and Canadians. They're there for the gravy train, so if they can get free travel, they can get free stuff, they'll just take it. And they don't want other people who've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar to face consequences, because then the gravy train's going to stop for them. And as I say, this has been going on for years. Let's just look at one example. This is a news article from 2017, so this is 7 years ago. Globe and parliamentarians ignore blockbuster paid travel revelation. The Globe and Mail broke an important story about Canadian officials accepting sponsored travel from China, but you wouldn't know that from Question Period. So we've got a nice picture here of our illustrious Prime Minister and Liberal MP Zheng Tan meeting Chinese Premier Li Keqiang during an official visit of Prime Minister Trudeau to China in 2016. So it says here, members of Parliament seemed uninterested in addressing ethical questions about paid travel by foreign governments for Canadian officials as they hurled vitriol at each other over the ethics of Finance Minister Bill Morneau's stock portfolio Monday. So as I said, they don't care for whatever reason. It's the Uniparty. It's the Conservatives and the Liberals equally. Well, maybe not equally, but certainly both are in on this. They don't care, and I don't know, is everyone in the employ of China? It seems like China especially is the one that it's all good if they're interfering with our government. Communists, all good. I'm sure if Russia could be proved to be doing anything, people would be losing their minds and the Parliament building would be burning to the ground as we speak. But when it's China, all good. So my prediction is more of what we've seen is going to happen. Nothing, because past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. Unfortunately, that's the state of the country as it is. People like to chastise me in the comments box about, oh, why do you have Maxime Bernier on the show? Why don't you support Pierre Poilievre? Well, this is one of the reasons why. The status quo, and CPC is status quo, is just not going to get anything done in Canada. If people actually want things to change and get better, we need to try some different solutions. But that's all the time I have for tonight. This video is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, call a lawyer. You can call another lawyer. If you want me to be that lawyer, contact information is below. We're always interested in your topic suggestions, so please leave a comment in the comments box or send an email to the email address listed. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and following us on social media.